Hey, welcome back to the Positive Side Podcast. Glad you're tuning in. Again, what's interesting about my Wednesday interviews is I've been very, very blessed to meet a lot of amazing people from all over the country, but not only all over the country, all over the world. My next guest, Lauren Laforge, I met her about, I don't know, 2, 3 years ago, something like that. And she blew me away right away. Number one, with just her authenticity and her the ease to talk to. And that was one of the first things I'm like, this girl's cool as shit. And then I found out where she lived. She was living on a boat. I'm like, you're living on a boat? I was like, what do you mean you're living on a boat? So that was a whole nother conversation. But that's what I love about these interviews is selfishly for me, I get to reconnect with some friends from years that I haven't even talked to. And today is no different. So Lauren Laforge, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And it was 4 years ago, easily, that we met, if not more. So
isn't that crazy?
yeah.
Well, I guess it's welcome back to the show, right? Because you were on the show like 3 years ago.
Yep.
Had to be, oh my God, it is 4 years ago.
Or 4. We might have met 5 years ago. It was like 4 years ago.
Dang, that is crazy. I've been back in Fort Wayne now for 2 years, just over 2 years. So yeah, I mean, then I was in California. Oh my gosh, it's been 4 years. Absolutely. Yeah. It's crazy how time flies. Well, Lauren, one of the things I love playing with you is, the old show, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Lauren Laforge?
Yeah, so that is an excellent question. Currently, I am actually in Montevideo, Uruguay. So I'm in South America. It's summer, lovely. It's turning into fall. Saw a tree starting to turn a little bit of yellow leaves today. So yeah, kind of fun tuning in from South America. But before the pandemic, we were living in Spain, traveling all over Europe. So I had a bit more variety to my answers, but we came to South America for a birthday party for a friend in March of last year. And we just stayed, the world shut down and we stayed put. So yeah.
Okay. So a couple of different things. How do you pick Uruguay? How do you get stuck? What's the pandemic like? And it just how it is, like way north on the other side of the world, man. I'm coming out of winter. Winter sucks. And you're going to the fall, which is crazy. It's crazy. So talk a little bit more about that situation. And we're going to talk really, and I know one of the ways you do this is through all your coaching, and you coach people from all around the world with huge companies. And I know you're getting ready to start your own coaching business, which will absolutely crush. I can't wait to hear about that, but I want to know, I like traveling, but traveling like you scares the shit out of me. Like you are the gangster thug life of travel. Like who does that? Who goes to Uruguay for a birthday party and then says, you know what, hell with it. I'm crashing here. I'll be here for the next year. What goes through your head? How do you do it? And talk a little bit of mindset stuff too.
Oh, absolutely. And you'll crack up about this, Jeremy Todd, but we literally, I have carry-on suitcases. My husband and I each have one carry-on suitcase. And before we now own more stuff than we've ever, not ever, maybe ever owned, but definitely more than we've owned in the last like 4 years. And we used to have this game because we didn't want to pay for extra fees. And you also just on airlines, and you also just don't want to carry so much stuff. So if we ever purchased anything new, you'd have to donate something else to make room for that in your suitcase. And any souvenirs, I would just take pictures of them instead of buy them. So it was like, it's the funniest way to save money, ironically, is to limit yourself to a carry-on suitcase for all your belongings. But yeah. So here in Uruguay, this is actually where my husband's from. So we met here 14 years ago. This kind of traveler mindset spirit has been a part of me for ages. And so this to me feels like freedom. To me, what scares the shit out of me is staying in one place forever with the same like roof over my head and the same routine. That's scary. Like you'll have to coach me on that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So variety for me, is kind of the spice of life, and it brings me to life. And so, big decision 3 years ago. So I met my husband traveling at a hostel. He joined my trip. We backpacked and bussed through all of South America for 5 months. Came back to the States, got married, and sold 2 businesses together. So we always have a little bit of this. Adventure life. But about 3 years ago, I just felt stuck in life. I felt like I was in the States. I was kind of doing a Groundhog Day version of my life. And I didn't feel fulfilling at all. And so I've had this dream. I said, man, what if I could live around the world in Airbnbs and have a sustainable income? Like that would be crazy cool. So that idea probably about 6 years ago, and then about 3 years ago, life everything was arranged and we were able to take flight, and I haven't looked back. It's been amazing.
What's the
So
favorite place you've lived?
ah, it's so funny. So some places we haven't actually lived, right? Like some place we literally like went to, Greece for 3 weeks, or we had and go to Egypt for 3 weeks, things like that. So lived wise, where we lived in Spain was this area called Malaga, which is in the south, and it's just stunning beaches and parties every single night. I would finish coaching and working at like 2 a.m. Spain time, and then we would go out and have dinner and then dance, and then I didn't have to work till 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. the next day.
Yeah.
So super funny lifestyle when working with US based clients, but able to
Sure.
have like a traveler kind of life. So I'd say Malaga, yeah, so definitely is a great spot to live.
What's the scariest thing that's happened to you while you travel?
What a question. What's so funny is like I'm a born optimist. So I tend to always see the positive things. Um the scariest probably was my husband, his cell phone was robbed when we were in Belgium, and it was, kind of coming back from a fun evening. We were 1 block away. His mom was with us. She was leaving the next day, and that was a scary moment to kind of just feel all of a sudden that you were, kind of robbed out of nowhere. But the ironic thing is, we haven't really gotten robbed. That was the only time. So that was scary. But same thing. The next day, the Apple Store opened. You buy a new phone, everything syncs. You're good. So it's like, it was scary for like the hours before the Apple Store opened. But yeah, yeah.
Once again, we're talking to Lauren Laforge, BFF for sure, and I'm just so glad you jumped on the show today. One of the things I love following you on Instagram is just, and again, for all the listeners out there around the world, if you haven't, follow Lauren, and then just it's like slow creep on her and like check out all her photos. They're so damn cool. It's like you live in a National Geographic magazine. It's the craziest shit. Like you're riding elephants in one picture, you're in some beach in some random place the next picture. It's awesome. I love following you. But obviously one of your true passions obviously is coaching people, and that's one of the things that I love doing. I love changing lives. Why did you decide to get into coaching, and talk a little bit about some of the programs that you have coming up in the near future?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so interesting. So I got into sales really young in life when I was 18 years old, and I planned to be a teacher. I was studying to be a teacher. And my first sales job, did door-to-door sales, was number 5 out of 3,000 college students, made 30 grand that summer. And I was like, dude, I just made a teacher's starting salary like in 3 months. Maybe I should go into sales. And so that next year, I recruited a bunch of salespeople. We were the number one team in the company, and I actually got to. So I made a bunch more money, and then I got to inspire and teach others, and then I got to teach others on how to recruit. And I remember I was 19 years old. I had this microphone. I was teaching, this conference room full of college students, and I just felt alive. It was so cool. And I remember calling my mom and saying, "Mom, I want to be a motivational speaker." And you have that clarity, and then you lose it for like a decade. And so when I was 30 years old, I started and sold 2 different businesses. After college, when I was 30, I just felt stuck. I was kind of just bored. I was bored of my businesses, and so it's really interesting to get involved in coaching, inspiring others, because I feel like I can take all the experience of hiring and training over 400 people, selling in so many different forms and fashions, and use that strategic mind of mine to really help others maximize their business. And so for me, coaching's kind of the paying it forward for all the people who poured into my life, and putting all of my experience to use. So yeah, so coaching to me is much more of a calling than anything else. And so now when I'm on a stage or speaking in front of a room, or right now, right, virtually speaking and training people, I get to be that 19-year-old again, who's just full of life, being able to inspire others. So sometimes it takes you a while to come full circle to realize that some of your true natural talents have been there the whole time. You just complicated things, and we go back to the basics, and you can re-tap into that.
You know, Go ahead.
Oh no, and then you'd asked about a
Oh yeah.
program. So
Well, heck
yeah,
yeah.
no, I'm super stoked. I I do one-on-one coaching right now, and I always want to be able to help others, like those who don't have the money to invest into one-on-one coaching. And so I'm starting some group coaching masterminds and some courses that you can take on through my website, which is really fun. And then I do free coaching on my Instagram on Fridays. And so if people are looking to kind of get unstuck, we can have a free session. And then it's cool because you're able to inspire other people as well. So, yeah, so I want to help the who I was at 25-year-old
Yeah.
self feeling stuck in my business. That's the kind of a cool audience I like to work with.
I mean, how cool is that? I just told you I was talking to Elise before this, and we were talking about like, stepping into this greatness of it and accepting who you truly are without having anything outside things like weigh you back or hold you down. And when you actually own that and you step into it, it's almost very freeing. It's like this relief comes off your shoulders. And I love what you just said there. You're coaching people. Obviously, people are paying you to coach, but there's also, and this is like totally me one-on-one. Like, I want to help out the person that's got nothing. Like, you can't afford anything. And I've been there. I've been broke as a joke. I want to help that person out and inspire that person to get to the level, not only where I'm at, but further than me. And I just love that about you, and because wanting to give back and obviously help as many people as you can. But question for you now is, obviously with you living all over the place, sales have changed completely in the last 3 years. What are some opportunities for new salespeople coming into this new pandemic virtually that you see as a must go to, or an easy way to get started to increase your business in this new quote unquote new normal?
Absolutely. I get blown away at the whole back to basics thing. Like, nothing beats being consistent and doing right. Sales is a numbers game. And so if we remember that and we apply it to, there's plenty of avenues to apply it online, but it's just going back to the more people you talk to, the more opportunities you have. The more times you put your fishing line in the water, the more opportunities you have for fish to bite. And so, whatever that consistent outbound activity is for you, there can be the cold version of it, right? Where you literally are connecting with people on LinkedIn, but writing a heartfelt message. I responded to a message the other day that someone wrote, and they said, I really checked out your LinkedIn profile. You looked great. I promise I'm not a bot. Like, I promise I'm a human. And just him writing that got me to respond to him. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
just, having some type of a real connection, but it's that consistency to reach out. Maybe if you're trying to sell through social media, going ahead and actually having, okay, I'm going to do, 20 direct messages every day and have something personal and heartfelt in it. I'm going to be commenting on people's pages. I'm going to be building relationships. So that's social media. And then the biggest thing I encourage people to do is like low hanging fruit. Like, sometimes we forget the people we know who know people and who are excited to help us. And so it's just being brave enough to connect with your network and ask for those introductions and referrals, and kind of get passed along in those areas. So I find those are really helpful. And then the last thing I'd say that I tend to coach a lot of people on who are newer into sales is like, right now there are so many networking events that are out there online, and networking groups, and like, just go to as many as you can, and then you grab the information of the people who seem like a good fit, set up a one-on-one with them, ask them for referrals, and just start to that domino effect. But it's all back to that numbers game. So that consistency of your outbound effort is the consistency of what comes in, and the more authentic and old school you can get with it, you tend to get better results.
Are you in Clubhouse?
I've connected with Clubhouse.
Okay,
I haven't done it yet, but I've been invited like 4 times. I've been told I should be on there.
Yeah, and I've been, but what am I? The reason I asked that question, and before I get into that question, I just want to recap what you just said that I thought was so freaking money in the bank was the LinkedIn thing. I get so many requests that are, as soon as I hit, I accept, and I get this canned response of that I can read it. I can read it like a book. Like, I don't even want to respond back to you because I know this is a bullshit response that you've sent to 10,000 people. That taking that extra 15 seconds to actually look at something and comment on something that actually is real, that is ground. But I mean, it makes a huge difference. I get emails from my podcast. I get 5, 6 a day of people wanting to get on my show. And it's great because there's agents and stuff that like book people, and some of them I've eliminated a lot of them but the ones that I almost always book on the show are the ones that actually send me a response themselves and say, I
Yeah.
listened to your show and I pulled this out of it. I'm like, dude, listen to the show and you're in. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
bullshit. And you say go back to the old school. The old school is so important. It's just
Mhm.
being real, being who you are. And we would talk about, like I was just saying earlier, that authentic self. People want to buy real stuff in a world that's so fake. Real shit is the real shit right now. I mean, it makes a big difference in how to build your business. Um,
Mhm.
if I go back to what I was saying, now I know I'm jumping over a little bit, but I talked about the
Yeah.
Clubhouse thing. You work
Yeah.
with Google, I know that, and you do some
Mhm.
training for that. You said you work for Facebook as well a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. And
Okay, so
Adobe. So yeah, really cool tech companies leading sales training for their sales teams.
well, the reason I asked that question is, and this is something selfishly for me, is this is going to be Lauren coaching Jeremy real quick on social media
Yeah.
stuff because
Okay.
I get so pulled away from there's just seems like there's 4,000 different social media things I can promote on. Right
Mhm.
now I'm trying to build my YouTube channel. I've got Facebook, I've got a little bit of Instagram, I've got a tiny bit of Twitter, I've got LinkedIn, and then now there's Clubhouse, and there's we and me and we, and there's all these. How do you manage that? What would you recommend to someone like myself or anybody else out there that's got a business going? And obviously, I think if you're not promoting on social media, you're completely missing the boat. And I think social media is a great way to be that authentic self and stuff like that. But I just think with Clubhouse, I guess this long ass story. I just think with Clubhouse, it's just one too many for me. I don't want to
Hmm.
water myself down as I feel like I'm borderline water myself down now. I don't want to go any further. Is that wrong? Right? What do you recommend?
Yeah. So, they tend to say that, master one platform first. So really own it, love it, get a great following, get just like, master a platform first. And then that you can on and I know you're already doing this, is you repurpose that content. So, deciding, okay, maybe Facebook or maybe YouTube, whatever your number one, like, hey, this, and you can even pick like maybe what you like to use or what feels more natural. It's like clicking for you. Like pick whatever's easiest. Like we don't have to make any of this harder for us than it already is. Master that one first, have that consistency, build kind of your main following. And then that content, that post that you do, you can repurpose it in other places. So perhaps for you, your number one thing, what would you say it is? Or number one platform?
Well, I've got I have just over 12,000 people on Facebook, so that's kind of going well. But I really like the response I'm getting from Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my main three would be probably I post on Instagram and that goes automatically to Facebook, which I like that. I can I
Mm-hmm.
can post one place and it goes to two places, and I
Mm-hmm.
really want to build YouTube up. Those three are kind of my favorite, and then LinkedIn
Yeah.
is. I know it's important. I haven't really attacked LinkedIn. There's just so much to do, Lauren. Damn it.
There is a lot to do. So this is the cool thing. So this is when you get a little strategic, right? So you get someone, right? So even people listening to this show, if you're good at technology, reach out to us and we'll have someone do some of your repurposing for you. But what's kind of cool is, so let's say, what do you typically post on YouTube?
I do this. I do like this video here. This podcast will be on YouTube. I do a Monday
Mm-hmm.
motivation on YouTube. I do a podcast recap. So like, some
Mm-hmm.
people don't want to listen to the full hour. So I started recently just doing like a 1 minute recap. Hey, listen to this podcast. This is what you're going to get out of it. If you see value in it, maybe go back and listen to the whole thing. I just started doing that like 3 weeks ago. So
Love it.
I think that was kind of a good idea. And then
Yeah.
I do random videos. So
Cool.
that's what I do. Yeah.
Perfect. So it's a perfect way, right? So you can repurpose. We do this. You put this in a bunch of different locations, and one of them being YouTube. Well, from YouTube, you grab that link that you put live, and that's your post to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like a little bit of a summary with this post. And so that video is getting on to LinkedIn, which drives traffic to YouTube, which drives traffic to the podcast, right? So there's a cool Bermuda's
Yeah.
triangle of repurposing. And you don't necessarily have to do the repurposing, right? You can hire someone to do that portion for you. And then so a part of it is scheduling it in. But if you're already like in the zone of doing this, like
Yeah.
awesome, like how can we upload this recording to your LinkedIn, maybe, or sorry, to your Instagram if you like, or to your Facebook. And so you can start to do one activity, can be posted in multiple places. I can help all those channels reach the audience that they want to reach. Yeah.
Are you a fan of boosting posts? Do you ever boost a post or boost a page or boost anything?
I'm not a booster, but I know that others do. So, it's so funny. My business is so built on referrals that um I kind of do my social media because I just want to impact people. And so I haven't gotten to that level of like, oh, I really want to boost so that I know people have. I'm not the right person to give you advice on
Oh, I'm
boosting.
just curious. Well, the reason I asked that is I don't think boosting works, and maybe it works for some, or maybe you got to put way more money into it. But I think the people, when you
Right.
boost stuff, you get bullshit followers that really aren't going to help at all anyway. So
Goes back to authenticity. Yeah. And so I feel like if instead of taking that money to boost, and instead you could literally pay someone to go do
oh yeah,
20 in like interactive supportive messages on other people's pages, like that money will probably get you more authentic followers back than
yeah.
yeah,
Do
than boosting.
you use Fiverr at all for that, or are you doing that specifically, or how do you source that out?
I'm a friends and family type of person. So yeah, so I've got a niece of mine. She does
Oh, see, yeah,
comments and stuff like that for me. I've got an assistant who I just love. I don't usually have her do the social media stuff. I usually keep that to people who are below the age of, you know, 20. Like the 20 to 18 year olds are the best
yeah,
people to do this kind of work because they're excited to get work and they know this stuff so much better. So my
that's a
Instagram was
great idea.
literally like all I know about Instagram was taught to me by a 19-year-old, and she would run and do all the tags and taught me all of it. So I think when in doubt, yeah, who do you know who's that age
I
that
think that's a
kind of
great
gets your
idea.
brand and your vibe? Yeah, and they usually don't aren't they're not looking for a bunch of money. They're just excited to have experience and have some money coming in.
All right, I love that idea. I'm going to take you up on that. That's a no-brainer. I've got some people in mind that I could do that right away. When you coach
Totally.
people, are you focusing on are you more based with women, or are you more focused on men, or does that matter for Lauren LaForge coaching?
It does not matter. Guess what my niche is that I've discovered?
I have no idea. I
Okay.
can't.
It's the funniest thing in the world. I realized I did a huge analysis. If you've ever read the book, The Pumpkin Plan by Mike Michalowicz,
No, I have not.
it's an awesome book. I'll add it to your reading list. And it's all about you kind of do a little bit of a synthesize of your clients. And I realized that the clients that I love to work with, no matter what industry, no matter what age, no matter what gender, I love to work with overachievers. And so I realized I love to work with the people who are internally driven. They always have that next goal, the next thing that they're running towards, and they're excited to apply like habit hacking and schedule hacking and like thinking outside the box solutions to get to a more ideal version of life. And
Mm.
whether it's typically not just income. Income's one of them, but like having time back in their day, having quality time with their family, marking a really big project or goal, or learning a new sport, or like any of these things, or even starting to travel, all fit into that box because they're people who typically are always craving for more. So I realized that is the ideal client that I love to work with, is like someone who's driven, who wants that iron sharpen irons experience, because they're usually the like leader that everyone else is looking up to in their world. They're not necessarily a leader. They could just be a salesperson or an entrepreneur, but like they usually feel alone in what they're doing. And so it's fun because all of a sudden they get to change the five people that are the average of who they're around, and get challenged to up level. So I found that is cool. That's a niche I really love.
It's interesting you say that too, because when you talk about overachievers and being alone, it's so to me, like it pops out as obvious, because for me, like I guess I never really like labeled as that, but for a guy that's, for me, that's doing this, I got, I've got working in the automotive industry. I'm doing the podcast. I'm writing the book. I've got, the hat, and, I'm doing all kinds of different stuff. It's like, I don't have anybody to relate to, you know what I mean? So when you talk about having an overachiever, that
Yeah.
mindset, I know what you're saying when you talk about that. And I know there's other people listening to this podcast are like, damn it, yes, I need to work with Lauren
We
Ford.
know who we are, right? It's so funny. Like we self-identify as it in a heartbeat. And if I ever share with someone who's not an overachiever, they'll say something to me like, well, Lauren, that's kind of a negative connotation, or that's kind of, and I always laugh because I'm like,
Yeah.
for us who are overachievers, like No, like it's who we are innately. It's who we've always been, and it's like we have joy in accomplishing things and in improving, and we have this a bit of like inner humility as well. Like we know we're not the best we're ever gonna be. We know we always can improve, and
Yeah.
it's cool. So it's interesting because yes, I love that you can self-identify. Like those of us who are overachievers, we know it, and the other one, those who are not, they maybe don't quite relate with it to us, but it's okay.
I think one of the most important things you talk about there too is when you're an overachiever and you do feel alone, sometimes as an overachiever, and this is what I think is brilliant about what your coaching program is that it's great to be an overachiever, but it's even more important to share those wins with another overachiever because as an overachiever, I love hearing. I want everybody to go to the bank together. And
Yeah.
sometimes when you're on that island and you feel like you're alone, it's like you don't want to talk to other people that are not like because then you feel like you're bragging or you're talking shit, and then you're like then you kind of lower yourself down and lower your accomplishment up. I talked about it a few months ago when the book came out. It was like I don't know anyone else. In my older brother wrote a book, which much love for him, and he had some great things to say, but there was like I wrote a book and I thought to myself, all the negative self-talk came in was like, no one believes you wrote a book, what I'm saying? There's no way you could have. I mean, all the negative self-talk, but when you're up there and you write this huge accomplishment, you're like, damn it, who am I going to talk to that can say yes? And that's what I love about your overachiever coaching program is because when you're on that island, it's nice to have someone else to share the wins with. And then it's like you 10x each other. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, I can do, I did this. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I did this. That's awesome too. What else can we do to get better? That's why that coaching program is brilliant. So I'm glad you're coming up with it. And you mentioned earlier too, that before we started that you're writing a book. Talk a little bit
Yeah.
about the book and how that's all going to correlate together and what does that look like in the future?
Such a good question. So really cool. So I'm a consumer of audiobooks, right? It's like I listen to them while I go running, and I just am so inspired by experts, and you can learn a lot and you get inspired by a lot of people. When you do listen to a lot of audiobooks though as well, you start to like it's like you want to have a good book that's inspiring and that pushes you to the next level. And so if it's not that, you're like, okay, on to the next, on to the next. And so it's really cool. So the book that I wrote, really, I want it to be one of those books that you can put on Audible and you can listen to a few times over, and it really inspires and pushes you forward. So what I observed is that there's kind of a four-step like process that I tend to take people through when coaching with them. And so it's kind of fun. I kind of did it on the basis of this epic life adventure. And I like to treat my life that I am the author of my epic life adventure, and I'm also the heroine of my epic life adventure. And it's my choice if I want that story to be boring, if I want it to be on repeat, or if I want it to be accomplishing all the cool goals I have for myself. And so you're going to be moving through kind of four phases. And so there's kind of this treasure, like this map that you move through, and it's vision, like, making sure you know where you want to go, moving through your beliefs, and you have to cross this bridge called Beliefs Bridge, and it's scary, and there's this huge canyon below, and you're like, ah, and it's like, all right, stay on the other side if you want with your current beliefs, but you're not going to get to your vision of your ideal life because these current beliefs don't support it. So it's like, so there's some cool techniques on how to change your beliefs and challenge them to help you cross that scary little bridge. And then once you're there, it's a lot about habits. Like, what is that one core habit that if you were consistent on this, and how to use a lot of cool habit tricks to help build up the core consistent habit, which we were just talking about, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
there's some core prospecting habits. You gotta do it every day, every day. Here we go. And so some cool parts of how to change a habit, improve a habit, so that you hop on, I call it the good habits river, and you start rowing and that consistency part. And then you build momentum, you drop like a waterfall right into your ideal life. And it's happened in my life a few times. I see your vision board behind
Oh,
you,
you know
right?
it.
Like that's your map, dude. Like that's what you're rowing towards.
Absolutely.
And you had to challenge your beliefs to help you move towards that direction. So it's cool. So it's a process a lot of us have been through, and so it just kind of explains it, gives it a cool adventure theme, and inspires people to do it for themselves.
Well, I love it, and I can't wait for it to officially come out. It's done. When do
Yeah.
you? I'm going to put you on Front Street. When's it going to come out? When do we get it?
Yeah, I'm hoping for it to come out in June. So it's all
Okay.
written. It's with the editor now. So yeah, keep you
Or
posted.
let's make mental note that in June, July-ish, let's get you back on the show.
Yes.
We'll hype the book up for sure. Faux show.
Okay. Oh,
Lauren, I
show.
don't know if you remember last time. We always go over these 7 questions, everybody that comes on the show. And John Maxwell wrote a book called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And he's got 7 questions in there that I'm going to go over with you right now. Lauren Laforge, are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Question number 1 is, what is the greatest lesson you've ever learned?
A great lesson I have learned is to just try something out, because if you don't ask, the answer's already no. And if you don't try, and which for me was that the risk of kind of traveling and going on these adventures, or doing that tour, stepping out, like just try, because you want to live a life with no regrets. So that's a lesson I feel like I've learned, is I'd rather try than regret not trying.
Yeah, it's funny that I use an example a lot, and I'm not trying to be an asshole to everybody that works in a factory, but I couldn't imagine doing the same thing over and over and over and over for 30, 40 years, like moving a little wrench for 30 to 40 years. Like that to me, and again, no disrespect is, well, they wouldn't be listening to this podcast if that was the case anyways, but no disrespect, that is not trying. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be a jack about it, but there's more to life than turning the wrench. And I think that I think, if I'm going to be a complete asshole about it, I think it's a waste of a life, because I think we all have greatness within. And if you don't actually try, like you said, you're never going to know what is possible. You never know that what greatness is right outside of your comfort zone. And it's so important to, like you just said, try.
Hmm.
Question number 2 is, what are you learning now?
Ah, I'm learning. So I'm building this course, so that there are ways that people can be learning the content that I coach people all over the world. And I want to help it get into more hands. So I'm learning. I've got a coach right now who's helping me build my course. So
That's cool.
that's what I'm learning. Yeah.
Who's your coach helping you do that?
Her name is Kate Perkovich, and she is hyper focused with helping females, ironically,
Yeah.
build online businesses. So yeah.
Big shout out, Kate. Mad love for you. Question number 3 is, how has failure shaped your life?
Ooh, it's so, I think failures helped me appreciate everything. At a startup, I was in $60,000 of debt. I felt paralyzed. I felt panicked and like anxiety, like I was drowning every morning when I woke up. And I think that helps me appreciate every time I can buy a fancy coffee, every time I can give money to someone, for anything. I love to tip people. I love to give people ridiculous tips where they're just like blown away by it. And you can just say, no, take it, enjoy it. It's amazing, especially right now. I'm in a third world country. I probably make sometimes in a day what people are making in a month. I'm making in a week probably what people are making in a year. And it's amazing, because I just want to continue to give to others so that they can feel a little reprieve from that sense of surviving when you don't have the money. So yeah, so I'd say I appreciate all that I have, because I definitely lived through not having it.
It's so powerful because, when you talk about having all that debt, people coming out of college nowadays with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in debt,
Mm.
and then not being able, being scared to death. They may have a job where they're making 40 grand a year, and they have a shit ton of student loans. They're strapped by their mortgage, and man, that's a stressful way to live life. Looking back for me, when I filed bankruptcy 20 years ago, and you never
Oh,
forget that. You never forget like that. It was brutal. So now I'm just like, I help people out all the time. I donate money here. I'm over tipping because I just feel blessed, and I have this attitude of gratitude. But
yeah.
that's another person that needs to reach out to you, Lauren, is because if you're struggling with that debt, or at
Mm.
least follow you on social media. I mean, maybe, hey, Jeremy, I can't afford Lauren right now. Well, you can afford to watch her for free every once in a while, and really
Oh,
get
yeah.
that going. That's what I think is brilliant about what you're doing is, the more
And
you give, the more you get.
Absolutely. And then Jeremy, just so that people do know, if you go hop on my Instagram, if you watch one of the IG live coaching sessions is about a client of mine who I helped her get out of crazy debt. And now she just bought her second property. She has got herself out of debt, has all this income. And then we have a link to the actual debt tracker that we use to get her out of debt and get her into her savings. So definitely reach out to me if you are in debt, because that has a piece of my heart, because I stayed in debt way longer than I should have, simply because I didn't know how to get out of it. So
Yeah. And I can just imagine someone listening to this or watching this saying, well, I'm so scared and I don't know what to do, but you actually have people that do it. And you've got to make that, you got to take action. Like we talked about earlier, you got to take action, you got to do something. And to watch a free video, I mean, my goodness, if you're struggling that bad and this is really resonating with you, it's time to step up and at least follow Lauren. I mean, my gosh, come on now. Question number 4 for Lauren Laforge is, Lauren, who do you know that I should know?
Oh, who do I know that you should know? Actually, it's a new coaching client of mine I could introduce you to. He has 500,000 followers on TikTok. This dude's blowing it up, and he is just awesome. So his name is Evan Fernandez, and look him up on TikTok. And
it's another one of those social medias I gotta get on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you mentioned about social, that's the reason why I think he would be a good person for you to know. Yeah.
Can you connect us? I mean, I'd really appreciate if you could send us an email or something, connect us. That would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Question number 5 is, what have you read that I should read?
I consume a lot of books. One that I just love, that I encourage everyone to read, is called I Am Enough. And it's by a therapist. She calls herself, she's a therapist for therapists. And her name's Marissa Peer. But it's a pretty phenomenal book about mindset and beliefs. So yeah, it's so cool.
I think somebody, and if anybody listening to the show sends me an email, remind me, that'd be great. I think someone mentioned that to me in the last 2 months. So it's interesting that came up twice. So that's very, very, very interesting. And I won't have time to go back and listen to my own show, but anybody out there listening, send me an email, let me know which one it was. That would be great.
I'll text you.
Yeah, absolutely. Question real quick. I just finished up from our buddy Dave Berlin, told me to read Tony Hsieh's book, Delivering Happiness. I'm getting ready to finish that one up. That was
oh, cool. I haven't read that one.
It's a great book. He's the one that co-founded Zappos and sold Zappos and made all kinds of money and like revamped Vegas and stuff like that. So that was a great book. Before that, I listened to Obama's book, super long, 29 hours audiobook. I mean, that set a record for me. But it was so good. Him telling stories with his voice, it was just brilliantly written. So I would recommend that. If you want a really long one, that's a really, really long one. That's a good one.
Do you want to hear my long recommendation?
Oh yeah.
You might have listened to this. It's Jack Canfield's The Success Principles.
I read that book a long time ago. Yeah, that's a big book.
It's like the Bible of building your future vision. Like if I could be the younger female version of Jack Canfield, like all is well. But amazing book. But yeah, like 30 hours. Like it's something like 29, 30. It's brutal. Yeah.
Monster books. Question number 6 is what I don't even know why I'm even asking this question, but what have you done that I should do? I mean, shit, there's a million things that you've done that I should do. So give me 1 or 2 of them.
I'll give you one. I did skydiving over Cape Town in South Africa at sunset. So you're literally looking at the tip of Africa from the sky, and it's like the sun. Oh man,
oh my God, that's crazy.
Table Mountain. That was amazing. What else have I done? Gosh, lots of funny things. Let's see. Oh, danced in the Carnival in Rio. You could buy a costume and be a part of one of the dance. You're like thousands of people dancing to the music, and then there's millions of people in the stands, and that was a really cool experience.
That would be so cool.
It's from 9 p.m. till 6 a.m. It's like an all night party. And but your group dances for like 90 minutes and it's amazing. Yeah.
Your second book should just be about shit like that. I mean, literally, it would sell billions and billions and billions of copies all around the world. Have you ever been to like Antarctica or like any place really, really cold, like North Pole, South Pole?
Yeah, Iceland. Yeah, the only continent I'm missing is Antarctica. I actually I got to actually speak and lead trainings on 6 continents in one
Mm.
year, but I know there were no penguins who wanted to hear me speak. But
Not yet.
yeah,
Not yet. Uh,
yeah, but Iceland was really cold. I mean, no, I mean anyone in the UK listening, my goodness, Scotland, like, whoa, you guys, it's cold. Um, yeah, my
question.
Canadian friends, it's
Hey,
cold.
yeah, no, no, thank you. I'm not. I was just curious because I thought about all the different places you went. I'm like, I don't know if I could go to Antarctica. You ever follow Wim Hof? You know who Wim Hof is?
Mm-mm.
Wim Hof is the guy that he's called the Iceman, and the Iceman, he focuses on breathing, and he climbed like Mount Everest with shorts and no t-shirt on, with just boots. He ran the 200 miles Arctic ring with sneakers and no shirt and shorts on because he focuses it all through breathing. The guy's a freak. If you get a chance, when we
Yeah.
get done with this, Google Wim Hof,
Okay.
WIMHOF. He is a freak of nature. Sorry to sidetrack there, but question number 7, last one for Lauren Laforge is, Lauren, how can I add value to you?
Oh, I am super stoked that I will, yeah, if you come across people who are overachievers and they're, craving for more out of their life, those are people I love to help change their lives. And if they don't have money, I have options for them. And if they have a bunch of money, I have options for them. But it's this idea of helping us live out our best version of life, because we have one life and we often forget it. So
Yeah,
reminding ourselves to live out the exact version of it that we want. It's all possible, that we're the ones that hold ourselves back. So
that's so powerful. And that's so true though. I mean, I just, again, it's that on your deathbed thing. You lay on your deathbed thing, and I wish I would have. Like, I mean, I couldn't imagine that. Like, I wish I would have done this or done that, and living from trophies on your wall. That was, or plaques from your job. That sucks. I'm sorry, that sucks. I want to have experiences and do shit and meet
mhm.
people and just really love life. So it's just so powerful. Lauren, tell everybody around the galaxy where they can find you.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great spot to find me is on Instagram. So just at Lauren Laforge. And then my website is laurenlaforge.com. So just don't forget my name and you'll be able to find me.
Well, that's easy enough. I'll have some links down below as well to find Lauren and find her website and all that good stuff. But Lauren, like I said, I appreciate you. I appreciate you jumping on the show. I love seeing you. We need to connect more often. This once every 3 years shit's got to stop. Uh,
Yeah.
we'll get you back on when the book comes out. We'll do that for sure.
Yeah.
So let's make a mental note for that. That'll be awesome. I'd love to get you back on, and who knows between now and then, who knows where the hell you're going to be, but it's going to be great to find out.
I don't know either. So yeah, keep you posted. We're in our current Airbnb for 2 months. We just moved in. So once it hits winter, we usually go to the Northern Hemisphere. So I'm if COVID is calm, I'm thinking, summer in Southern Italy
Yeah, why
sounded
not?
pretty charming. So
That's right. Why
yeah,
not? Right? What the hell? Lauren, you're the best. You're the best. I love you to death. I love you being on the show. And again, we'll have the links for everybody to find Lauren from the show. But like I say it in
so
every
good.
single episode, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate everybody watching. Appreciate you leaving those 5-star reviews on iTunes. Find me on YouTube. Give me a like. My goal is to get to 1,000 followers by July 1st, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot on you. It's hard to get followers on YouTube. So if you haven't done that, run over to YouTube, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I say on every single episode, you've got greatness within. Like always, this is the positive side.